dumb, and that's not true. The British were not dumb. And the Americans only were able to win once they not only learned how to fight behind trees, but they also learned how to fight standing up in conventional warfare. So the Americans managed to learn both styles of warfare. The third example is George Washington. Bold term, he is on the matching list. If any American gets him wrong, you will be deported. If you don't know who George Washington is, you will be. If you're not from here, it's okay, but you should know eventually. George Washington was a really good general. What's funny about George Washington, I remember my social studies teacher teaching me this, and he's 100% correct. George Washington was really good at losing. He was good at retreating. He could fight a battle, and if he lost, he could fall back without his army being destroyed. He didn't necessarily win all that many battles, but he was a good loser. And what that meant was the British had to keep chasing him all around, and eventually the British got tired and gave up. So that's another reason. The last reason, and that's why I include this picture here, we Americans, this is a world history class, we Americans don't like to give credit to anyone except ourselves typically, and I say that as a patriotic American, that's just part of who we are. We don't especially like to give credit to the French, but we could not have won the American Revolution without the French's help. It was the French Navy and the support of the French Army and French weapons and ammunition that helped us to win the revolution. So we couldn't have won the American Revolution without the French, which is funny because Americans typically don't. We always make fun of the French, which I think is kind of inappropriate because they did. We couldn't have done it without them. So those are the reasons. The other question we had connected to that. Okay, one thing I want to point out, notice these two things are underlined. Those are not going to be on the exam. We weren't able to cover those in class. So please cross those off of your review sheet. Those questions are not going to be on the exam. So 12 and 13, cross them out. Unless you're in my online section because you watch those videos. So they may listen to this too. So we did 14. 15, how were the American and French revolutions different? Okay. The American Revolution was fairly conservative. It was essentially a political revolution. Right? The people like George Washington who were wealthy and powerful before the revolution were wealthy and powerful after the revolution. The politics changed. We became a republic. We got rid of the monarchy. But society stayed pretty much the same. Wealthy people stayed wealthy. If you were a slave before the American Revolution, you were likely still a slave after the American Revolution. Right? That's important. So this is as far as revolutions go, this is actually pretty conservative. It was mostly just a political revolution, changing one government for another government. The French Revolution, by contrast, was not conservative. It was very radical. Right? In the French Revolution, you had a political, economic, religious, and social revolution. The French tried to change everything. So the American was basically conservative. We just were a political revolution. In the French Revolution, if you were wealthy beforehand, there's a very good chance that you were either dead or poor afterwards. Right? They killed a lot of aristocrats. They took a lot of their wealth. Religious revolution. Your religion probably didn't change in the American Revolution. But during the French Revolution, there were very heavy attacks against the Catholic Church, which was the majority religion in France. And in France, there was a social revolution as well. People's places in society changed. So, for example, the aristocrats, a lot of them were gotten rid of. So, very, very different kinds of revolution. Let's see, what ideals did the French Revolution? Okay, what ideals did the French Revolution spread? In what ways did reality not match with the ideal? Let's see. Oops. I didn't have that slide, but the major one that the French were trying to spread, well, did anyone remember that documentary we saw? Did anyone remember the title? Égalité, which is French for equality. Right? It's French for equality. So you had this idea of the French Revolution was supposed to bring equality to everyone. And at first this was understood to be all French men. So if you were a Frenchman, farmer, old, young, merchant, factory worker, it didn't matter. You were now all equal. So that was where it was spreading this idea of equality. particularly through the conquest of Napoleon. But as we saw from that movie, Equality for All, the documentary, there was a debate. Does equality just mean for white French men, or does it include people of African descent who were slaves? Does it include people who are mixed race? For example, are those people included in this promise of equality? And also, one of the big ones that there was a question about, the underlying portions will not be on the test. Charlotte Corday, Olympie de Gouges, was a woman who said, why is it that I'm excluded from this promise of equality? I'm educated, I'm intelligent, why don't I get the right to vote? Well, every Frenchman does get the right to vote. Right? Why am I not included? So there was this question about who gets to count as equal. French men get to be counted as equal, but French women and don't at this point. And people of African descent, sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't, and depends on where they're at. So limited equality. Okay, why was Toussaint Louverture so important in the successful slave rebellion in Haiti? Right, remember, this is a guy who has organizational skills, he has military skills, and he knows something about both African and European cultures. Right, he's a person who has a foot in both camps. So he's able to act as a negotiator. He understands world politics. He understands, the Spanish, the English, and the French are all different, and you can have them kind of struggle against each other. One thing, I thought people did a really good job on the documentary response sheet. The one thing I want to add, where there's this question, why did he support the rebellion? And a lot of people got, and I think they're correct, he felt sympathy for slaves because he had once been a slave. Remember, though, that there was always this danger. The French government sometimes wanted to bring slavery back. So I think partially from his perspective, he realized that as long as slavery existed, even if you were a free black, you might become an enslaved black later on. Right? As long as slavery existed, there was always a danger you could be re-enslaved. So I think the answer, he has sympathy, is true, but I think this is another possibility as well. So we still have a few more minutes. Is there anything on here that I didn't answer that people would like me to answer? Okay. Oh, sorry. Let me go back to this. Any terms? Any terms here?
Who made the Taj Mahal?
Taj Mahal.
Who made it?
Oh, I don't ask who. I'm wanting to say it was Shah Jahan, I think, but I don't remember the exact Mughal who made it. What I'm more interested in is what the Taj Mahal is. Remember, why was it made? Yeah, to honor his wife. Yeah, and it also had this really deep religious symbolism because it brought up this idea that he would one day get to see his wife again. If you came in late, I handed back the response sheet, so please come see me if you turn one in, and I'll give it to you. Good luck, and I'll see you all on Friday. Remember, I will upload the review session. Please listen to it again. Study hard.